Master Grade Gundam version 3.0. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net. Today, pleased to be bringing you a look at the parts from the Master Grade 3.0. It's not the third Master Grade Gundam, but let's see what kind of improvements have been made over the parts in the last half-decade in Master Grade. But what a treat it was emptying the plates of the multi-colors of white there, 3 of them, and you're going to see that some parts are going to be left over there, as those are the old 2.0 parts. And I didn't put on very many of the seals. You can see that instead of the eyes, I did black Gundam marker. And though I did put on the gold parts down for the knees, for the elbows, I just went with a gold marker here. Here's the weapons that were exactly the same as the 2.0, and since I built these at first, it was incredibly boring and repetitive. The Amuro figure is a boring repeat as well, and the emotion manipulators mean that you're getting old beam sabers that can't be used because they don't have pegs attached into them. And the core fighter is going to be exactly the same as the old one, so a dull build there, but getting a new core Brock. And once you start actually building the unique parts to the 3.0, that's where it actually gets fun. And remember that you get to choose between the magnet coating or the more visible ones, as you'll see. But though the repeats were dull, Daniel, once you actually get on to the main core series, you get to see all the standard body parts. There was tons of excitement embodied building this in my body. And why is that? Well, a simple flip around here hopefully is going to make it really clear, because Bandai did a fantastic job of getting those 3 colors there, the gray, the brown, and the white, all together in short order with some great bend gimmicks. As soon as you start to put the body together, you're just going to appreciate that things have really stepped up in quality, and the real grade has come home in the size that it should be. So what do you get in terms of gimmicks? Well, look up there, multi-colors, 1, 2, 3. And when you go for the bend up here, you'll notice that it's going to be splitting in the front as that part comes down, and it's going to be sliding down there nicely. And the knee starts to get that. I don't know if everybody else is getting that click. It sounded a little disconcerting the first time, but it's pretty consistent after that. However, you're still going to be having the same problems here when you put on these seals. There's another one that I could have put on, but I thought a little bit of gray would be okay. But you're putting these seals, the copper ones, on top of rounded parts. Never works out well, Bandai. So it's better off painting, of course. And this is just, like I said, it's going to be exposing more of the inner parts, which is a lot more fun. But gray poking through there, nice parts when you get to see the front of the knee. It's not going to cover up that much up there, and still looks a little bit hollow, so not perfect. But again, to see the multicolors down there between the reds and the different shades of gray, everything is looking really cool, and the toes are not going to be falling off like they did with the 2.0 as easily. And the waist section is going to be coming across as equally fancy here, again, thanks to the cleverness. These are just 2 pieces of white or gray here that you're going to be putting on top of the dark, but just the way they intersperse it there, you get a lot of separation from few pieces of plastic. And even back here, these are actually separate pieces, so there are 3 colors there around the yellow, subtle as it is. This part here rotates around sort of like a Susan that's lazy, and you can take your hyper bazooka or beam rifle, and they're just going to be plugging in there, and you can see that everything is actually going to hold on there pretty solidly. You'll just want some nails or a modeling knife available. But when you go on the inside, you're not going to have anything fancy like the up and down parts there for the hips, but you'll notice that these side skirts here, look at this range of movement up and down, and the side ones are going to be not too bad. But when it comes back to the front here, you are going to be able to pop this part out, hopefully not as easily as the 2.0 did. But again, those skirts are going to be moving very well all over the place. And when you see these 3 colors in short proximity combined with an actual yellow there that's not a seal, things are looking sharp, and you've got an action base, of course, ready to go aerial. And when you look at the top here, you can see that this can actually attach in there quite nicely without a core block or Brock or core fighter actually transformed there on the inside. But it is a big step up on the 2.0 because you are going to be getting this chunk of plastic. You do get a little Amuro and a piece of blue there, but you can just drop that on. And that means when you put the chest on, it's going to sit on there a lot more solidly, and you can slide up that lower blue section there and actually lift the whole thing up to reveal the Amuro and that light blue on the inside. So for the chest itself, a modeler's knife or long nails again is needed to use that. But it's just got all the right colors in all the right places. They did go for the 2 tones here, but they didn't make it so bright and almost sharp pinkish over there. So this isn't going to stand out as much as this little bit of light purple is. And I think it just looks fantastic on the vent there to sort of prevent blue overload. The plates here and the vents, they're going to be moving. If you move one of them, they can all move. Some nice lighting options in there, and you can see that the shoulders are going to be incredibly well designed. First of all, you can just pop that panel up there but they're going to move nicely this way, and if you want to go for the old up and down there, you can sort of pull them out a little bit here, and then they're going to be able to go all the way up like this. It's a little bit wild, and you do have to jar them loose somewhat, but they do feel secure when you actually pop them back inside. For the ab action, you're going to be able to move it off to the side, it'll stay, and back, you can see it'll go nicely this way, and it'll actually do a decent job of looking down despite that cockpit hatch there. And if you want to make it nice and easy here, to put an LED unit in, gold preferably, it's going to be easy to pop this off with the knife, and you can just see the way it's going to be fitting in there with the ability to actually have the switch exposed before you put on the backpack, and the light blasting out through here and hopefully doing a nice job of coming out the camera lenses, the eyes, and even an angry crossbone mouth. The shoulders, however, do not inspire confidence when you first put them together, and that's for a simple reason, just that these parts here move very, very easily. Hopefully it's not going to be all that bad to be exposing a little bit of gray inner frame there, but it just comes across as looking a little bit cheap, and you can see that it's not really flush there as it comes to the forward position. If you sealed it up, of course, it would definitely stand out, but the colors are going to help it in that department. You've got the 3 on the top. More lining opportunities that I've gone ahead and ignored there, and if you wanted to go ahead and actually dual this up 1-to-1 style, you could even add some red or green there, just to make sure that no planes or helicopters came to Odaiba or Shizuoka and crashed into this 18-meter monster. The arm looks pretty good even without its main components attached onto that, again thanks to the color separation there, and skipping out on the magnet coating, but you should be putting seals there and they're going to go up and down all over the place, so I went with the gold marker there. It doesn't look bad, but anyway, it's definitely could be using probably another coat there, but I do like the looks back there on the front and the back. Probably my biggest problems was putting it together was just that the elbow comes across as being a little bit tricky to get it all in there. So you're going to want to have some patience there. And when I actually put these two parts on around the wrist, it just doesn't feel like they're sitting all that well, but they seem to have settled a little bit. But in terms of the bend mechanism, you can see that it's going to go like this. You actually get that part split there, and it's going to come forward almost 180, and when it does, that's going to be sliding down, and everything there is going to be looking good. And when you add the emotion, the manipulators themselves are going to be looking a little bit too big there, but you can see that they are going to have a little bit of double-O rocking motion forward and back. The fingers are looking just a little bit long. Looks like I've lost a fingertip down there. And of course you've got that peg there, so you can actually take the weapons with their new attachment points and actually keep them in place, hopefully. So let's get to them, but they don't need a lot of discussion. If you liked them on the 2.0, well, you'll like them on here. If you don't like building the same thing twice, you won't like them on here. You'll notice that the color is going to be going more RG-ish down there, and that's the part that can come out, and you just have a regular yellow scope, and it's missing anything that might cause some nice breakfast there in terms of napalm. If you happen to be a fan of it in the morning, but for the Hyper Bazooka, first of all, I'm always just a big fan whenever they alternate. I'm very tired of the old gray HG bazookas that just look terrible here, but having the color differentiation, the white in a few different places is great. But I think the thing that I noticed most about this is that when you put on the new one here, and it's actually got the parts, again, that'll fit into the emotive manipulators, but it actually just feels like this is really soft plastic, and hopefully, with bazookas always being a little bit tricky, if it's actually going to have some flexibility, that may turn out to be a good thing in this case. Here's the beam sabers, new and old. They'll be telling you to throw out the old ones, but why not just throw them into your Ziploc there? And the fact that they went to the trouble to give you multicolors on the new ones, definitely a big step up, better lining, and I think they're going to look great when they're on the back. And if you don't like that ugly line, well, you can just go for this when it's actually this one in hand and this one on the Ransel backpack. Which I'm going to say is good and bad here. Good because it's going to have good color separation and lots of moving parts, and I'm a huge fan of those clear parts down there. I didn't think they'd look all that exciting before I put them in, but if you wanted to paint them up, and even if you don't, it definitely sets itself apart from just the regular old gray that we're all used to. The only thing is you're going to want to be very careful. These pieces are flimsy, and I've already broken mine. But in terms of the moving parts here, you'll notice that this part is going to come out ever so slightly to hold the beam sabers, and these parts can actually roll around quite nicely. The color separation there is going to be great, and where I'm sort of not too impressed though, is just that even though the parts move, it just doesn't come across as moving all that naturally, and it doesn't feel particularly good when you actually separate it there. It just feels a little bit cheap. You'll see that these are going to go up, but then they're going to fall back down, but you also have the ability to move these ones as well, and hold them up in place. The fact they went to the trouble to give you clear parts and 4 moving thrusters there, if you use them right, they're actually going to be looking pretty sharp and very Gundam vs. Gundam-y as he whooshes every way. Not a lot needs to be said about the Core Fighter, because if you liked the 2.0, plates aside, yeah, they're going to be exactly identical there. For better or for worse, I never was a big fan of these small little parts there, but it does lead to some cool looking angles. The big thing that I think I like the best about is just the fact anytime they're going to give you a clear landing gear, that's always going to be a good thing. The whistles come out, Amuro can be on display, and it folds up nicely. But I'm always going to have it out on display, because if they're giving you a core Brock, you might as well have one out on display and one actually holding the Gundam bit together, which is a big step up on the 2.0. But back to the new and good stuff. I'm a huge fan of this head sculpt and the color choices there. It is the RG brought to life, or the 1-to-1 brought down to life, but you can just see the multicolors. Everything's looking good. Gray parts showing through where they should be. You can even line them up with a little bit of black underneath. Nice channels there, no problems at all getting that face mask done. And you're actually going to have some clear parts there underneath these slits, so you'll hopefully have a little bit of light coming through there. I think the big disappointment for me, though, is that they're not going to be giving you the gold eye stickers. That means that you're not going to be able to actually do them up unless you want to go cut some of the excess off the sticker sheet and just stick them in there yourself, or paint it up in clear yellow or something. But if you don't put an LED in, his eyes are going to be looking a little bit lifeless. I went at it with the black marker as opposed to the Lone Ranger mask there. But the other impressive things are still going to be pouring through there. I do really like the yellow Vulcans, and I wish I had had some clear red around. Didn't bother going out to buy some just to paint up the camera lenses, but when you put those seals on front and back, they're actually going to be really, really thin, so you'll want to be careful applying them, but hopefully it's going to be allowing the light to come through. But of course, paint is almost always better, but the color scheme and the separation here and the proportions seem perfect. No pun intended, as he's obviously missing some of his extra armor, but really putting this whole thing together, I've just got to say, dull at the very beginning, and then it just took off after that. Every single part that you're going to be putting on here, you'll be impressed with the way they've got the color separation. Yes, we've seen it before, but it's a good thing, and it just feels a lot better putting it together in 1/100th. Outside of the tricks with the elbows and just breaking a few things, can't wait to see it all put together, so hope you're excited as well to see the next part when the MS gets all put together and posed, and of course, stood next to the 2.0. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think. See you next time. Seriously, kid, your mom's gonna have to buy you a new backpack to go to school. That one's just old and embarrassing looking now.